Hey folks, as you know, I'm Guy Kessivan, the Tester Man, but the good news today is not only have Enduro got new tools out, but we've got Mike and Andy from Enduro Bearings, channel sponsors, to actually talk you through the new tools and your kind of general philosophy about why Enduro Bearings are moving into tools and at what level you're moving into tools as well. So, for once you don't have to put me waffling on, we've got two proper experts. So I'm going to get out the way, and these guys are going to talk you through the new stuff, and then we'll do a bit of show and tell as well.
Sure,
that sounds why the tools work, how they do, and how easily that makes it.
Perfectly. Any questions you've got, Guy, fire in, and we'll try to answer.
Oh, and obviously, I'll be speaking to these guys afterwards. So if you've got questions that don't come up, get busy in the comments.
Yeah, and we're happy to, to comment, to give answers to comments and come to Guy as well to help out for, just to build people's knowledge as well.
You guys are always super responsive. I think that's, I've had feedback from people on the channel already. Someone had an issue with the bottom bracket, I think, and they were like, and it turned, you guys, I'm not sure who they spoke to. They spoke to the local shop, and you guys turned it around super quick. They were like, we were messaging other backwards and forwards. I was like, let me know how it goes. And they were like, "Oh yeah, they were brilliant. Couldn't have been better." So, nice, and obviously, you two are on. You're coming through on the way up to Hard Rock.
Yes, we are indeed.
So, if I get this video out before Hard Rock, hopefully, edited tonight,
absolutely,
you can go and see these guys and the legendary Rusty the Diver. Who we've met before. We've done the Rusty the Diver video. All about bearing life.
That we did at Hard Rock. We did that. That was great.
So I'll put a link to that in the end. And I've also covered, the use of the Enduro bearings and stuff like that. So we've kind of covered the fact that they are incredibly long lasting, and you've got the lifetime warranty and everything like that. But this one's about tools. So this tool's going to remove himself from the shop, and you two guys get on with it.
Okay, thanks very much, Guy. Just to add to what Guy said, we're on our way to Hard Rock. Again, we'll be present. All of the Extra UK, who are our distributor here in UK, with our booth, and a really nice booth with the Enduro Bearings, and we'll be doing a clinic every day at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So please come along, and we'll give you a live run through of the tools if you're there at the show, and if Guy manages to get this video out before the event as well.
And if he doesn't, then that's a waste.
No pressure, Guy. So it's great to be here, Guy. Thank you so much for welcoming us into your little garage here. Finding out what's actually behind the camera. It's a state secret. State secret. So as you say, we're as you all know, we're a manufacturer of bearings, and companies based in California. And who better, we think, for making tools for working with bearings than somebody that makes bearings? It just seems like a logical thing to do. And certainly we put a lot of time and a lot of effort into trying to build tools that work really efficiently, particularly, our principal target group obviously are professional mechanic workshops and stuff, but obviously anybody can buy them if they feel that they want to go to the next level with the tools that they want to have for their personal use. Our philosophy basically, and we encourage everybody when you're working with bearings, as much as possible, is to work in the least aggressive way possible, because in principle you can probably save the bearing and get a few more months use out of the bearing, which is good for your pocketbook, and it's also good for the environment. So this is a good thing to do. So our basic philosophy is to have a range of tools which work in a more modular fashion. So one tool will actually interact and work effectively with another tool in order to give efficiency, which is really important to make sure that the bearing is installed square, and because we see many of the problems are poor installation of bearings, or some of the problems we see. Quickly, because time is money, particularly in a professional workshop. You want to work as quickly and as efficiently as you can. And this third thing, which is really important, is many of you guys out there now have bikes that are worth a lot of money. So what we want to do is to have a safe way of pulling bearings out which won't damage the bike frame and won't damage the bearing. So that's the overall view of us that we try to do with our bearings. And Andy, I think you want to give us a quick run through overall of what we have
through on what the current setup is. I mean, it's changed a lot in the last 18 months. last year we kind of introduced the linear bearing press, which is essentially a new hub press, but it also comes with a smaller rod which does suspension pivot bearings. The nice thing with these is they've gone to a much coarser thread, so it's an Acme thread, so it's a much stronger rod, and the thread itself, it won't strip as easily, that sort of thing over time. They also come with a thrust bearing, so it's for helping with proper alignment as you drive the bearing in. It spins on the bearing as opposed to again, metal against metal, essentially against the guide. So it's a much more controlled process to press your bearings in. This particular kit comes with the most popular guides sizes for hub bearings, and then, as I said before, it also comes with the guides which also have cutouts for suspension pivots. So it doesn't work on every suspension pivot system, like this one for instance. You couldn't use this tool with, because you can't get to the backside of that bearing. So this bearing you would need to pull out from there, which is a different tool setup, or either with a slide hammer, or you could use a different combination of our tools, which we'll go into in a bit. The other thing with these is that all the handles you can pull them off. So this one you can run on there, so you can run it as a standalone hub tool set. If it's a particularly tight bearing, you can run an Allen key in the back for more leverage. You can also swap these handles around, so you can run a short one and a long one, or you can run whichever combination you need, basically. And then on this particular set, this comes with a zip nut, so you pull the handle off and then the nip just slides off, so you don't have to keep spinning it all the way down the rod. It does come with a standard nut as well, so you can do that, but the zip nut's a really nice addition to that particular product. And then, so that was the main one that came out last year, and that kind of stemmed going into some of the newer products. The other one that came out probably about a year ago now is the headset press. So same concept, but it's a bigger, obviously a bigger threaded shaft. Comes with the most popular headset size guides. Again, thrust bearing, Acme thread, and again comes with a zip nut. Now this is a different size rod, so this is a standalone tool. It's only for headsets. But that's another. That was kind of the next step. And then going into earlier this year, we brought out the BRT 40 set, which is basically a bottom bracket service set. Now it uses a combination of parts. You get essentially a master cup, which you use for driving, for essentially driving onto the rod. But you use the rod from the 60. So you use this rod in combination with these parts, and then it converts it into a bottom bracket service kit. So you can remove bottom bracket bearings, but leaving the cups in situ. So if you want to service the bearing, or you just want to replace the bearing, you can leave the cup in the frame. So especially good for press fit bikes, where you don't want to have to remove the cup from the frame. It's a bit easier, obviously, if you've got threaded bottom bracket, but certainly for press fit, you can essentially remove the entire bearing easily and leave everything else in situ. And the kit comes essentially with adapters to do a 30mm bearing, a 29mm or dub bearing, or a 24mm bearing. I'll set it up in a minute and we can have a look at it and how it works. But that's the BRT 40. So that's essentially a bottom bracket kit, but you can also use it to remove hub bearings. So like this hub, if it's got axle stops, as in when you've taken the free hub body off and the end cap's off, the axle doesn't slide out. It means it's got axle stops behind the bearings. Traditionally, most people would just hit it with a hammer and to get one of the bearings out, and then slide the axle out.
Yeah.
With the kit now, we actually do an adapter kit for the BRT40, which means you can remove them again in the gentle way. So you set it up with the same handle, but it just pushes the axle out and then pushes the bearing out, as opposed to doing it in one foul swoop with a hammer. So again, it's about, you know, this is an expensive wheel set. You know, it's a £2 wheel set. Do you really want to be hitting it with a hammer to remove your bearings?
Yeah.
It's kind of like we're trying to eliminate those problems that come from that kind of action.
The shortcuts that turn into long problems.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So all the tools are kind of based around that philosophy, and they are. Everything is interchangeable. So, like I say, essentially the handle is the kind of the crux of the whole system.
Yeah.
So if you've got the handle, then you can do any of the other bits. Obviously, it's not a cheap thing. So, like Mike said earlier, it is really, you know, predominantly aimed at professional workshops. But if people are doing, you know, a lot of home mechanicking, or if you got, you know, especially if you've got a fleet of bike or a family of bikes, you know,
or if you're
or
riding group, or
shared with friends,
anything,
absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
it's definitely worth considering as an investment.
because
going
one thing will
forward.
save a lot of money.
Yeah.
Even if you're just replacing your bearings,
Yeah.
you'll set it more regularly. There's less wear and tear on the frame, and also it's only got to fudge it one time and get it wrong.
Yeah.
Or leave a bearing in too long because you can't be asked to replace it.
Yeah.
You're looking at a frame that's potentially written off.
That's exactly
bearing bore's got too
that's
big,
exactly right. That's exactly
you know,
right.
there's not a lot you can do on that, especially on carbon.
No, not at all.
Yeah, that's the risk, exactly. And this is one of the things that we talked about, is like trying to protect the frame to make sure that we work in a way which is efficient and reasonably fast, just so that the frame is protected, so it's pulling things out gently and easily rather than forcing in an aggressive way.
You're making you looking after your bike enjoyable.
Well,
essentially,
absolutely.
I mean, half the time, I'd use the tools a lot, but I've also, you know, I'm quite happy to confess, I've just used them as fidget spinners sometimes. Just skimming my arse off, like, oh, this is lovely, you know, and the threads are like moving that nicely.
Yeah.
I mean, with the, we've got these, sorry, I'm going to dive in between you and the camera, but those bottom brackets there, the threads on these, I mean, these are for the press fit system, but that thread, when you turn it round, I mean, that's like every Galaxy chocolate ad wishes it would be. I mean, that, you know, and it's just the thing, you know, it's just investing in a little bit of quality goes a long way with you having a good experience with your bike and a good experience with maintenance.
And certainly on bottom brackets, you know, it's a bugbear for a lot of people. You know, nothing worse than having a creaking bottom bracket. And where does the noise come from? Finding the noise, first of all, can be a bit of a pain.
Yeah.
But we know that this system here, the Torque Type from Enduro, really eliminates that issue. This is a system, of course, that you see other brands making this style, but this was introduced by Enduro Bearings a number of years ago. Maybe we should have patented the thing. We didn't, but it's a great solution. It's in fact, it's not a great solution. It's the solution for having a really efficient, non-creaky, silent, efficient bottom bracket
In a press fit format.
in a press fit format. Yeah, exactly.
And the other thing, I think, just going back to service-wise, obviously some of our bearings come with a lifetime warranty. So there is service stipulations within those warranties. So like our XT15 bearings, for instance, it is a lifetime warranty. There's no specific service requirements, but if you want it to perform at its absolute best, and if it gets a little bit noisy, then it's worth just pulling it out of the cup.
Most definitely.
And just giving it a service.
Yeah,
you know,
give it a clean.
Yeah.
Seals off.
You know,
you get the seals in the kits.
You know, one of the things, Andy, I think, which is really important to say as well is, you know, environmentally as well, you know, it's if a bearing starts to get a little bit noisy, it's not necessarily dead.
Yeah.
So there is an opportunity to pull the bearing out, give it a clean, re-grease it, put it back together, put it back in the frame efficiently and square and all the rest, and get a longer lifetime out of that bearing as well. So you know, that's one of the reasons why, you know, it's XT15 or any other bearing as well. You can pull out, service, put it back in.
Yeah, because cartridge bearings do have this kind of, once it's a bit worn, just throw it away. You know,
absolutely.
Chuck away mentality.
And
but that's not necessarily the case.
That's exactly right. You know, and
if you've got a top quality bearing.
We definitely encourage people to service their bearings more than they probably are doing right now. Having a bit of grease in your bearing, it's a pretty good idea. Yeah.
Who knew?
Who knew? So, you want to do a quick thing on grease?
Why not? Grease is the word.
Shall we just go for it?
Yeah.
So, when we talked about bearings, and hey, not a bad idea to have some grease in a bearing. Here's a thought. We actually do 3 different types of greases that we use, depending on the type of bearing and where it is on the bicycle. So, if you have, let's say, a headset, or suspension pivot, because that's a bearing that doesn't spin through 360, it basically oscillates in there. We use a very tacky, thick kind of grease, which we call max grease, which is we don't manufacture grease, by the way, just to say that, but we know we've worked really well with this. This is made by a company called Almagard, and it's a tacky, just a fantastic grease. It's built into all of our bearings that are not built to spin through 360, okay? And particularly on things like all of our stainless steel headset bearings now will have this grease inside, and it's a guaranteed lifetime warranty bearing as well.
Yeah.
We have a grease specifically for our XT15 bearings, which is our ceramic hybrid bearing, which is a grease which is built for spinning fast. Still what we call a high pressure grease, so it has a really good quality of actually expelling humidity and water and all sorts of things like this.
I've been told it's very good for DT Swiss hubs or ratchet style hubs, because that have a tendency to freeze in the winter.
Okay.
But apparently it works really well.
Right.
So as an alternative to the other grease. So,
And that grease is made by Kluber.
Lube,
In that one there. And then we have our kind of all-round grease that we use in basically all of our other bearings, which we call our performance grease here, which is made by Almagard. No, sorry, made by Mobile. Made by Mobile. And these are available in these little handy syringe type packaging, easy for working on your bike. And grease is your friend, guys. Use grease whenever you're doing anything with your bearings. Grease is what you need. Grease it up, grease it all around.
Don't go in dry.
Yeah, exactly. don't go in dry.
I want to cut that bit.
It's more like a Neil Armstrong video.
Okay.
Grand.
Good.
Brilliant.
3 types of grease.
So you want to talk about that straight after grease as well?
Yeah, good. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's very pertinent.
Solid ones.
Solid lube. Yeah.
Recently, these have been introduced by Enduro. So solid lube has been around for quite a number of years. Enduro have kind of experimented with it for a long time, but we never got to the point of it being
satisfactory.
Yeah, it's probably the best word.
Yeah.
There's been issues, with getting the right fill, getting the right, the right polymer, essentially, inside, but
particularly for humidity when in wet conditions.
For wet conditions especially, and other brands have tried it and have not been particularly successful, and certainly in bikes. Originally, the idea came from the Gulf War, I believe.
Yes.
So it was because it was so dry, obviously in the deserts and stuff. They wanted basically bearings that had no grease in. So that's where originally the idea of that kind of this solid lube came from, essentially the Iraq War.
A military solution.
It's a military thing. So, but because there was no rain, no wet, essentially there, you didn't need grease, and the grease actually made it worse because all the sand and everything sticks to it. So that's where the solid lube came from. Over the last couple of years, Matt Enduro's kind of been experimenting with different formulas and everything else for solid lube. So now we've got a range of solid lube bearings. These are max pivot bearings. So they are black oxide coated. So you've got obviously some corrosion resistance on the actual races. They're still a chromium steel bearing, but they use the solid lube inside. So they are designed primarily for longer life without needing to service, because you can't re-grease it, because there's technically no grease in there. But with these, the testing.
This is complete news to me. So it's effectively a lubricating polymer in there.
Yeah.
Rather than grease, which is basically a low viscosity liquid still, but this is actually a solid.
It's a solid, but it has kind of almost like an oil inside it,
right?
Which then obviously as the bearing spins,
as it moves,
it
releases it. Yeah.
Releases it and keeps the bearing spinning smoothly. But with these, there's actually a 2-year warranty on these, which covers wear and corrosion.
Yeah.
Which is pretty unheard of, certainly in a pivot bearing. The range of bearing sizes is fairly small, and they are premium priced. But you are going to, if you're riding a lot in UK wet weather conditions, to buy into a few, it depends on the bike, but you could have 12 pivot bearings, and they're kind of retail at 50 quid each, so they're not cheap. But you're not going to need to replace them, and even if you do need to replace them within 2 years, it's covered under warranty anyway.
Yeah, sure.
So it's definitely
and if you're on a single pivot.
If you're on a single pivot,
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's definitely something that's new to us. We've only had them probably a couple of months, for certainly in the UK. So yeah, that's a new thing. But obviously with that, it's kind of you can't really service it. So it's slightly different to the others. But essentially it should be a fit and forget.
And you do conventional bearings?
Yeah, of course.
We do in a wide range of sizes.
In a much bigger range of sizes. I mean, with the max bearings, which we get, certainly at Hard Rock, we get a lot of questions for pivot bearings. We do most bikes, because a lot of bikes are specced with Enduro bearings anyway, OEM. Most of them come with a standard chromium steel bearing. I would always say if there is an upgrade option, go to the black oxide in the right size, because it will give you more corrosion resistance. So it's going to last a bit longer in UK conditions. The actual material is the same, it just has more corrosion resistance.
Particularly if a bearing is slightly exposed to the elements. That's a situation where we would say black oxide is actually a really good solution in that case.
So even if you've got a bike where some bearings are relatively protected, but some are just right in the firing line of the ship.
Absolutely.
They're the ones to swap out.
That's it.
Definitely.
Exactly.
It just goes back to that kind of mix and match modular.
Sure. Yeah, of course it does.
Sure. The solutions that work for you, which is why you offer a range of bearings in the first place.
Absolutely. We offer, throughout our whole range of bearings, we really offer a good, better, best scenario for our bearings, because not everybody has the same needs. If you're riding on a Sunday only when it's a nice sunny day, you don't have the same needs as somebody like Guy Kesteven or
but even so, on the bikes that I built up using your bearings, some are running max hit, some are running XD15, because some are high mileage bikes, some are high impact bikes, and others are bikes that don't get used as much. So the tandem, which I'll be dragging out for Hard Rock, not riding, but it'll be there. That doesn't get a lot of outings, so it doesn't need.
That's right.
It needs a bearing that still works, and I know it's going to work. I know it won't have seized up since the last few months I've used it.
That's it.
But again, it's horses for courses, isn't it?
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. But and then I guess should we do a demo?
A quick look at this. Okay.
Absolutely. Everybody loves a show and tell.
There we go.
So there's two different size expanders. You get one which does the 29 and the 30 mil. So it depends, obviously, which size bearing you've got, and this is the 24 mil. So essentially, you drop that in there, and then you've got the shaft, which drops inside, and then that expands in there. So you basically these inner flanges butt up against the inside of the bearing.
Right, okay, yeah.
So, and then what you do is you grab the handle for that, and then
That's
find
the
the
24,
appropriate 24. So then you have a 24 cup which goes over the top, and then you've got the driver, which you then need the zip nut for.
And again, that just speeds everything
Just
up.
speeds everything
compared
up.
to the standard screw on.
And then you literally just drive it out. And it's your bearing out.
That's your blade.
So then you can service it, replace it, whatever you want to do with it. But obviously you can leave this stays within your frame.
Yeah.
So you can do it in situ, or you can do it like I've just done now if it's out of the bike. And then if you want to put it back in, you essentially use the guide the other way around.
Yeah.
So you've got a 24mm guide there, which slip the bearing over. And this time I'm just going to thread it down. Everything's in place. There we go.
There we go.
Easy as that.
Smoothly, straight, aligned.
Yeah.
Now, normally, obviously, Guy, when you're doing this on your bike, you're going to be using grease. When you we're doing this in the workshop just to show how the tool works.
Yeah.
But grease is such an important element of whenever you.
So greasing the outside of the bearing to slide it in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then just repeat the process on the other side.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really easy. And like I say, if you want to, whether it's a service or just a replacement, you want to keep the existing cups. Like either way, it's just a much safer, easier way to do it rather than trying to knock it out. Which never goes as well as you anticipate.
No.
The pivot bearing one, this is just, I'll just show you quickly. This is kind of mocked up on this one. So you've basically, this is driving out from the inside. So obviously on some linkages, you might not be able to fit the tool. It just depends on the linkage setup. On this one, it's quite a tight fit, so you can't fit a handle on. So I would use a spanner on there, 15mm spanner on there.
Yeah, rather than putting handles on.
Yeah, you can use the handle on this end to drive it out. These bearings are particularly loose, so it will just pop straight out. But you can see it coming out there into the.
So this is a cutaway, yeah.
This is a cutaway, yeah. So if you've got if you've got your swing arm attached or close, obviously it's designed that it can be cut away around other parts of the bike.
Yeah.
So if you've got, whether it's a seat stay or whatever that's kind of in the way, it gives you a bit more freedom, basically.
Yeah.
But then essentially you're just driving that bearing out into that cup.
Yeah.
Again, it does various different sizes, and it all comes with the kit. So it's a nice additional tool. Kind of the set kind of sets you up to do a lot of jobs.
Okay, so let's have a look now at removing a bearing from the free hub body, which is what we would call a blind bearing there, because getting access into the back of it is difficult. So what we need to use is one of these tools, which is an expander, which fits inside the bearing, just on the inside, the inner race of the bearing. And once we screw this up, this will then expand onto the race of the bearing and make it solid. Now, what in the past we would see people doing from this stage is taking the slide hammer, attaching the slide hammer and bashing it out, in a fairly aggressive way. Like we talked about, we're trying to encourage people to work in a non-aggressive way with the bearing. So what we have is this tool now. We're going to link it into two tools, which is the 41, which is a new tool working for blind bearings, which then links in a modular way, as you said, with the other linear bearing press. So what we have is part of the 41. We basically have three pieces. Very simple. We have an adapter, So this is an adapter which screws into the back of the expander, because that allows us then to have the thread of this, which we then will thread into the back of it, okay? Which will then allow us to work in a very progressive way to pull the bearing out. So we have the rod from the 60, we want this little adapter for here. We're going to have a little cup which fits over here, which basically is like the receiver cup for the bearing.
That's the foot it braces against,
Yeah.
essentially. Yeah.
We have this as a shaft, which then we will work with two things. We have the two handles. It might seem strange, but this works really well. So we have the two handles of the 60. We have our super duper, what we call the zip nut, which goes on the back of here. Now we're going to thread this in to the little adapter that we just looked at in here.
Essentially, you're making a very fancy corkscrew
Yeah,
to pop the bearing cork out of the freehog bottle,
yeah.
as it were. Have you done a corkscrew? Maybe that's the next thing. Maybe it could be the new Campag.
We should do, shouldn't we?
Yeah. I've bought 3 of those Campag. I bought one for my best man for the wedding. Then I thought, well, he's not having one if I'm not. So I bought 2. Went down to Condors in London to get them. And then we bought one for my mate's 50th birthday. But anyway,
So here's the system system is set up now, talking about corkscrews, okay? Ready to pull the bearing out. So we have receiver cup, the shaft, our zip nut, and the two handles. And from here, basically, I'm just going to unscrew, and you'll hear in a second, make sure it doesn't all fall off, like that did, okay?
Clearly.
And what we have then is you can see the bearing, which is attached and can't escape because it's firmly attached to here. Okay,
Only
so
the freehog couldn't.
yeah, exactly.
But then you'd normally be using that on a wheel anyway.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. It's we're using it on a wheel. We're going to take this off. We can take this off of here. And then the bearing will. We have to release the expander.
Yeah.
Here, and then this will just
Pop off.
pull
the
off.
spines.
Pop off.
Yeah. Nice.
So it's really quick and easy, and as I say, it's working progressively, which is what we're trying to encourage people to do.
Yeah.
And if you can save the bearing, go a little bit longer, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the I think it's a good example of the modular system where you actually have several tools working together to actually have a very very easy and efficient effect.
Yeah, and again, it adds value as well because people can just add on bits as and when they need them, and they've already got the kit that does.
That's right.
The wheel bearing, the standard bearings, and the.
So it doesn't mean you have to buy a whole new tool. You can just buy the additional pieces that you need for that particular function.
Just we also, all the parts are available separately.
Right.
So if you just want a 24mm bottom bracket tool, you can just buy the handle and the bits to do the 24mm.
Right. So you don't need the kind
You don't
of
need
compilation
everything.
set.
No,
Right.
you don't have to buy this kit. You can buy individual handles. You can buy individual like size bearing guides, etc., to do whatever job you want. So you could, and then you can build it up as and when you need it, rather than having to buy into a whole load of kit straight away. So it's a good system that should, as and when standards change or whatever else.
They never do that.
Yeah, they never do that. No.
Yeah.
But it's got that adaptability that further down the line you might be able to bolt on other things.
If you need a guide to what bearings fit where, we even have, and I'm sure people have seen this before when I've been working on my desk, we have new and updated new bearing mats as well. So that's the new headset.
That's the headset one.
But there's also a newer
and
version.
And then, slightly newer version of that. The headset one's really good for shops because there's you can see how many. There's about 30 different bearings on there. That's not them all.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
but that's
Yeah.
the most popular size.
Even the few builds I've done recently, it's like,
Yeah.
really?
And then, but there's lots of
that's
lots
life
of
size, isn't it? As well. That's
that
that's
is
the
one to
point.
one.
You stick the bearing on top of it and go, aha.
Yeah. And there's also so many headset bearings are especially hard to find the right one. So because everybody names them differently. Ours is named differently to a TH Industries or a Cane Creek. They might be the same size,
but different name.
but they're all different names. So even on
Industry.
yeah, but on here we have got alternative part numbers. So if like these, for instance, that's a Cane Creek part number. These are kind of just Chinese bearing OEM part numbers.
Generic numbers.
So we've tried to put as much information on there as possible to make it easy to find what you need for your bike, basically, or that particular bike if it's a shop that they're repairing. So yeah, all good tools.
Exactly. So sometimes the simplest tools are the most effective.
Yeah, pretty much.
Being able to put a bottom bracket on your bench and go, that's that one.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Do we want to press this back in? I guess.
We can do, mate.
Yeah.
If you want to.
So,
if I buy another brew.
Very simple. Yeah, I've got my brew is waiting there.
Pool down on the floor.
There is a pool on the floor. There's a couple of poles down there, actually, somewhere.
No, we better find them. Yeah.
Got them both? Oh, good. Well, we'll put those.
Once an archaeologist.
Hannah will kill me.
So pressing the bearings back again is a fairly simple process. A couple of guides for a 6802 which locates into the bearing. Locate that into here. We will use the same on the other end to make sure we have the same size.
Keeping everything parallel.
Pressing from there. What we always do as well is have the size, which is where we can see the bearing here, which we're going to press back in. Andy talked about the thrust bearing, so little needle bearing on here. We always have to use it on the side we're driving back in. Okay.
Top tip.
Yeah. In here. And then we can use this here. This here. And once we're here, you can see the bearing here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once we actually just start to press in, you can see progressively how the bearing is just very simply, very quickly pressing in, and you know it's square. And this is a really, really key point.
That's the crucial thing.
To make it's the crucial point, exactly the right word.
Fractional misalignment, because a lot of bearing drag, premature wear.
That's it, exactly. And you'll get, and the bearing will wear out. You know, the bearing's going to die more quickly than you would expect. So, yeah, and then undoing again, as I say, we've got our little magic little tool
You
here.
also don't need to over tighten it.
No, exactly.
You just nip it up, because you can over tighten them to the point where they bind. Especially if they've got a spacer in between.
Yeah.
You can. I mean, if you do that, you can just reverse the procedure as before and just pull it out slightly.
But best not to.
Best not to over tighten in the first place. Yeah.
Again.
And certainly, if you ride it over tight, it's not gonna last very long.
No.
So,
yeah.
Good.
there you go.
More gently goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, gently does it, as they say.
Yep.
So, no, I want you in the in the shot.
I'm hoping this isn't going to be the generation game segue. Run through all the bearing press information. But guys, thanks very much for talking me through the range.
I hope it's been really useful. You know, it's as I say, there's a lot of work goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm actually a really interested guy from what you do. What are the things that you find difficult to do when you're working on bike and working on bearings? What are the things that are important, or that you try to really focus on?
It's just the difference it makes. I think knowing that you can do something properly makes you far more likely to do it.
Okay.
You know, I'm fairly notorious for not doing as much maintenance as I fairly should. I know I like to think of it as its worst case testing scenario, which kind of accelerates the situation with stuff. But I mean, that's just stupid, you know.
Yeah.
So, but having the kits, you know, because I've already got, I had the original bearing press and everything like that.
Yeah.
It just makes it so much easier when I'm running a long term or something like that. Just knowing that it's not going to be a nightmare. I'm not going to ruin bearings. I'm not hammering stuff out and then fetching it the other side of the workshop or putting a screwdriver through my hand or something like to tap it out.
Yeah.
It just suddenly it becomes, and like I said, the fidget spinner bearing thing is genuine. You know, it's just nice just working. It's always just nice working with really, really good quality tools.
Agreed.
And,
Agreed.
and like you say, there's a lot of bearings in a lot of very expensive bikes now. You know, you're saying 50 quid a bearing for some of those solid bearings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's still a fraction of a percentage of the frame you
Of
could
the
be
overall
writing
cost.
off. If
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
looking at a 12,
absolutely,
15
It's
grand
true.
bike,
It's true.
I think
that you're,
true.
you know, if you wear the bearing bore out on that, I mean, luckily we are seeing more bikes designed now where things like it tends to be the bearings are in the linkages rather than the main frame and things like that, or they've got, you know, replaceable thread inserts and which help with that kind of long-term sustainability, but it's not universal by any stretch.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's just, I've always neglected maintenance before I had the tools
The right tools.
to do it with, basically.
I think
that's my confession.
I think that's a real fair comment. But you know, from our standpoint, you know, we've got some stuff for you now to start working with. We'll be really interested to hear in, I don't know, 6 months' time of, you know, how it's been over the while working with them. Has it made you do things differently? Has it changed your process or your thought process about?
I mean,
you know,
will I move to preemptive maintenance?
for instance,
rather than rather than just trying to save things at death's door. That would be a win.
Yeah,
for a start. And I'm certainly getting towards that. It'd also be interesting to see how many people watch this video and then end up. All my mates coming up and going, you got a bearing present. They are not. None of them are leaving this workshop. That is the golden rule of having good tools. People can come around, biscuits or cheese for those watching. Specifically cheese. Don't bother with beer. Nothing will happen. But I imagine you'll probably be able to get out of the workshop while I'm lying on the floor unconscious. But yeah. So
okay.
I think we'll see an influx of new friends coming to get their bearings sorted out. Which
I know one who'll be around.
Yes. We both know what we're talking about there. We're watching you, Hal Crow. But no, thanks.
Thanks, Guy.
Thanks a lot for your time.
Awesome. Yeah.
And as usual, folks, like, share, subscribe, click for notifications, Patreon if you like the channel, and just let us know. What do you find, what's your struggle with bearings, or with, what tools are you looking for, and what could Enduro create for you that would make your job easier?
Absolutely. We're, honestly, we listen to what you guys have to say. You're out there doing it every day. Okay, we're all riding our bikes too, but you have different experiences, riding probably in different conditions. So let us know.
Yeah, because that's the nice thing now. We've got kind of a global community here.
Yeah.
And there'll be people going, well, solid bearings are no problem for me. I live in Arizona.
Yeah.
Or you might get
Dubai.
People, yeah, exactly. Genuinely, you get a lot of people like coming in from Arizona, Flagstaff, that kind of thing, or Texas.
Yeah.
And they bring a completely different perspective. And that's one of the nice things about the way the channel's evolving and about, again, your product range is evolving too.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. Thanks a lot, Jess. We do something.
Thank you, man.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
It's
a pleasure.
Thing. Off into the distance.
Thanks, guys.